Hi, I'm Candace, founder of Sufficient Grace Social Services, where our mission is to create awareness for the prevention of child molestation, child sexual abuse, child abuse, and neglect, to help children to gain confidence and to find their voice, and also to help find healing from past sexual abuse and other childhood traumas through Christ. Today, I wanted to continue my conversation about my book of Becoming Me. This is actually the last chapter that I'm on, chapter 10, and it's called Time to Grow Up. And this chapter, I have to say, it's pretty hard. It's touching on some subjects that is really hard for me to talk about. But I have to say, my whole life is kind of hard for me to talk about my past life and even my current life. I'm a very private person, and I really don't open up and discuss things about my private life to anybody. Really, I don't have anyone that I can really open up to except for God. But I feel like me talking about these things and making it public so that anybody can see is kind of freeing for me in a way, and it is kind of therapeutic, and it helps not only whoever hears my story, but it also helps me to be able to release it, to be able to let it go, because I am a firm believer that when you hold things in, it tears you up inside. But when you are able to like talk about it, it helps you to get over it faster. And maybe not even get over it 100%, but to overcome it and to move forward in your life. And so um this book is is that for me. And even though I wrote this book years ago now, I started it in 2016. Um, it has also been freeing to kind of talk about it on YouTube, because when I wrote the book, it was like I was never going to show anybody. It was just going to be something that I did to just get it out, and it was just going to be between me and God. But the Lord has been putting it on my heart to tell people about it, to give it to people, and to talk about it here. And so we're going to continue with chapter 10, called Time to Grow Up. And it is about one, two, three, four, maybe 5 pages. So I might break it in half. It depends on how much I have to say about it in between. But okay, so, and like I said, I have revised this book at least 4 times now. So the version that is here that I'm reading right now is an older version. The newer version of it that has a bit more information. I've taken some things out. I've reworded some things. Let me put it like that. Is actually available on Amazon right now under the name Candace Cotton. Okay, so now I want to talk about something that is still hard for me to speak about, but I will try to be as clear as possible. Actually, talking about the death of my mom was hard, but talking about this is even harder for me, actually. After many years of being sexually abused by my uncle, I stopped going around my uncle and aunt for a while. But some years later, my aunt started reaching out to me and my daughter, and we started hanging out with her again. I never wanted my daughter or any other child around my uncle, although I did not think that he was abusing anyone else. And honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know whether or not he was. I wanted to believe that he wasn't, but I didn't know. because I knew what he did to me. And that is something that is very, very hard. And this chapter might take a couple of weeks because I feel like I have a lot of explaining to do. You know, knowing that I knew what he did to me and not telling and trying to put on this facade that everything was fine in my life and go around people that I knew was a toxic, bad situation and bringing my family members around them and trying to smile and make it okay was wrong. And I know it was wrong. And I shouldn't have never did that. But at the time, what I know now versus what I knew then and what I was going through mentally then is two completely different things. The person I am today, I would have never done that. The person I was back then, I felt like I had nobody. I didn't have a good support system. And I had the mentality that, oh, in order to have people around, I have to be this nice, happy person that just said okay to everything. And, in order to have people in my life. And now, I don't care about people being in my life. I am fine with being alone. I'm fine with being single. I'm fine with it. I'm totally okay. There's been people, sometimes I do get lonely and wish I had somebody in my life, and it's a fleeting moment. It's not like something that is like, a urge that I actually need. And for so long, it was such an urge. I needed somebody. I needed somebody. And now I don't feel that way anymore. Maybe age. I'm almost 40, and it's like, do I really want to convert my whole entire life to please somebody when they're not willing to give me that same effort? No. Okay? The answer to that is no. I want somebody that's going to put in the same effort with me that I put in with them. And I'm top notch. I'm going to do the most for the person that I'm with. And I want that back. And if I can't have that back, I'm gonna be the most for me. That's pretty much where I am right now. Sometimes I do wish I had somebody, but then I have to look at it like any guy that I've ever been with has not treated me right. And I have to say, you teach people how to treat you. And so the fact that I kept them around and I knew they were treating me wrong just to have somebody around gave them license to keep doing it. And so I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like I should have to put myself in that position. And that is not only just for romantic relationships. That's my everyday philosophy nowadays. It's like, give me that energy. If I'm willing to go step out, do 100% and show you that I am a positive person in your life, I love you and I'm treating you well, I expect that back. And if I don't get that back, I feel like you shouldn't be in my life. What are you in my life for if you're going to pull me down? So I got to off course, and I feel like in this chapter I will. So it's going to take me a while. I still tried to keep a close eye on him when he was around my kids. And what I mean by my kids is any child in my family. I'm the type of person, and even now I work in a school, and I think of all children as my kids. I love them like they are my own. And I've always been that way. When I was a kid, my mom was a preschool teacher. Well, she was the teacher assistant. And I would come into class after I got out of school and kids were waiting for their parents to pick them up. And they were my kids. I just always love children. I just always feel like I need to protect children. And and make sure that they're okay. And that's how I feel about every child in my family. That's how I feel about every child that I come across. And it's been that way. And that's why I wanted 10 kids, because I love kids. But it's another story when they grow up. I'm just kidding. I love teenagers too. Yeah, I do. But anyway, so now I think that because I was so afraid of anyone finding out my secret, I had convinced myself that he had only abused me. I had always thought that he had taken advantage of me because I was quiet and a loner. I was so awkward and I kept to myself a lot. So I figured that was the reason he had the opportunity to abuse me. I blame myself for all that happened to me for all those years. I felt like I put myself in the position for him to sexually abuse me. Since I forgave him and let it go a long time ago, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Besides, the kids were nothing like me. They were always outgoing and they always spoke up for themselves. Also, they always hung out together. Wait. Also, they always hung out together at my aunt and uncle's house, so I thought the kids were safe. And that was a mistake that I made. And that's why I hope, and this is a hope because it's so many things that the Lord has told me to do. And I just, my mind, I have to get organized, because one thing that I want to do is have a class teaching parents and adults about what to look for in a child predator. And I I know it's not a I think. I know I put too much on the kids. I put too much on, just like I figure people put on me, to speak up and to say something if somebody is doing something to you. And which is something to teach children, but at the same time, when things like that happen to you, shame comes in. And I think of it like in the Garden of Eden, when um Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, that the forbidden fruit, and they got this knowledge that they never knew, and shame came upon them. And when they got this shame, they hid from God, even though there's no way to hide from God. And even though God knew everything, they still tried to make up a story because they were ashamed of what they had done. And even though they were tricked, and they could have said, I'm sorry, I was tricked, I shouldn't have did it. They tried to blame it on each other. They hid, they made clothes for themselves. The shame, it runs deep. And so expecting a child that's a adult has done something so heinous to say, hey, look, they did this to me, it's hard. They may try to tell you in different ways. They may try, and you may not even get that that's what they're trying to tell you, but they're trying to test you to see if they're going to get in trouble or what your reaction is going to be. And depending on their age, they might just come out and tell you, because a baby has no shame. Like a 2-year old, a 3-year old has no shame. Whatever they see is coming back to you. You're gonna know about it. But the older that you get, and the older that you know that these things are not what you're supposed to be doing, and you teach a child that, if an adult that they trust and love does that to them, it confuses them, because they're like, well, they're telling me it's okay. You're telling me it's not. I don't know what to believe. And so putting that on a child to speak up for themselves is not right. It's wrong. We as adults have to look for patterns in people to say, hey, red flag, this person loves hanging out with kids, but he always wants to be alone with kids. See, that's a red flag right there. You're always trying to get along with the child. You're always trying to take this child away. You're always giving this child special gifts, special attention. And it may be a couple of different kids. You know, that's a red flag. And there's so many red flags that we as adults have to look at in a child predator that a kid may not see as a red flag, and they may not even know that they need to say anything before it's happened for so long that they think that they may get in trouble for it because they let it go on for so long. And so that was my mistake. I put too much on them to speak up for themselves. And so, and I can see this is still page 1. So, I'm probably not going to get through this chapter, maybe the next couple of weeks. So, although I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, I always thought he would never have the opportunity to abuse them, but I always tried to make sure that they were never alone with him. My aunt started wanting the kids to spend the night, and she assured us that she was watching the kids herself at these sleepovers, and we trusted her with our kids. Looking back, it was an error in my judgment to leave the kids at their home alone, but I've beaten myself up about it over and over again. This is hard for me. And there's so many statistics. Excuse me, because I have a list, if you haven't noticed, and S words are not my easiest words, but pronouncing words all together is not my easiest thing. So there are statistics that show that children in single parent homes, children in homes where parents, even if there are two parents and they're going through maybe financial problems or different things like that, makes it more likely that a child may be abused. All types of abuse, but sexual abuse is the one that I am most thinking about in this issue, because there could be abuse from parents being in stressful situations, but sexual abuse in these type of situations usually comes from an outside person that volunteers to help the family. As a single parent, you may need somebody to pick up your child from school and drop them off every day, and the neighbor next door volunteers to do that. Different situations like that. You need extra help and you trust in people to help you. And these people may not have the best, your best interest and the best interest of your child at heart. They may be taking advantage of the fact that you need help. And I feel like that was the situation that happened with my aunt and uncle. They knew that I was a single parent. At the time, I only had one child, but I was not financially independent. I was trying to go to school. The fact that I had been sexually abused as a child, my mind was jumbled, and I had never gotten the help, and I did not have a clear thinking, and I feel like I was taken advantage of in a way that they came in and helping me out, but the underlying thing was to get close to the children in our lives. And it wasn't just me. It was, my sister, my cousins, we all had young kids and we were all trying to make it. And it's like older adults in your family that are more financially stable, that are more able, they have the time and the resources to help you, and they volunteer this help, but then they have ulterior motives. And it's like, you know, I could looking back now, I see, you know, red flags all over the place. Just like situations that shouldn't have never been, you know. And it was, and I thank them for the help. I really am grateful for the help that anybody has ever given me, but to help me with the um plan, or you know the actual motivation to do stuff that is not right to our children, that's not right. And I could debate back and forth that was the reason for it, and they could say that it wasn't. It just so happened to have happened. But I can even think back to when I was a child and my mom would leave us at my aunt and uncle's house, and there was opportunity for abuse because there was no supervision. And although I felt like that it was a different situation, it was a different situation, but the same situation. And I blame myself. I blame myself 110%. I'm gonna finish this page, and then I think that would be it. Or I'm gonna get as close. I'm gonna just do another couple of paragraphs. So many times we were there with the kids, but admittedly, sometimes we left them in our aunt's care. I have to say that when I was there, I never saw anything that would have concerned a red flag between the children and my uncle. And I tried to make sure that they were not alone with him for any amount of time. But like I said before, we were not always there. Yeah. There was some times when like they would go in his room and he'd be sitting there watching TV, and I'll say, hey, y'all come out of there. Just come on, leave him alone. Now I tried to always make it seem like, okay, I just don't want them bothering him. But in my mind, it was like, no, just come out of there, and like I said, if I could do it all over again, knowing what I know now and the person that I am now, none of that would have ever happened. I hope none of it would have ever happened. You know. I think that, okay, I'm gonna just read a little bit more. Now I know I was completely wrong for allowing the children to be in his presence. I, I was completely wrong for not speaking up and keeping all of the children in my life safe. I am sorry to everyone I let down. One thing that I've learned about myself is that it is easy for me to forgive others, but not myself. I know that God loves me and forgives me, so it is about time for me to forgive myself as well. Um, and I'm going to stop right there. At this point, I have forgiven myself. I feel like I have forgiven myself. I'm going to just put a little mark where I need to start next time. This is going to be hard. This is really going to be hard for me. But yeah, I feel like I've forgiven myself. to an extent, because I feel like I can't blame anybody but me on one hand. But then again, it was the choices that he made that put all of this in motion. But there's also choices that I made that could have stopped it if I had made other choices. And, you know, that's hard for me to live with, you know? And it keeps me alone. It keeps me um deep in thought and just feeling bad sometimes, because of the shame, because I feel like I let so many people down. Even though I have made steps to right my wrong, it's like it shouldn't have never came to that point in the first place. But you can't change the past. You can't change the past. I don't have a magic wand. And to tell you the truth, I would not want to go back to the past, because the person that I was back then, I don't ever want to be her again. And so I thank God for the growth that I have and for how much He has pushed me into being who I am today, because believe me, I be kicking and screaming. There's a situation right now that me and the Lord have been battling. We've been battling through for literally about 6 years, and I'm like kicking and screaming, like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And it keeps coming around and coming around. And I am just that stubborn. And so the Lord works on me a little bit at a time, as much as I could take. But I'm glad that He doesn't give up on me. And I'm glad that I don't give up on me. And slowly but surely, it's like I do it. And, I'm learning to do it faster. This one situation, kind of, but a lot of other situations, I am getting on board faster. And so, with that, I don't want to continue this. It's been about 30 minutes. I thank you for taking some time to talk with me today about my book, of course, my book of Becoming Me. I I really would encourage everyone that's listening to this, and I'm going to start talking about it more, because I feel like it would help, and not only help with seeing that, okay, I had a crappy past, but you can still do good things in your life even when you had such a terrible upbringing. But also, it has so many different layers to this book, and I really encourage everybody to read it and let it inspire you. Take what you can from it, and just let it inspire you to be better, to be a better you, because that's what my story, rereading it and reliving it, is inspiring me to do. And once again, I thank you for taking some time to spend with me. And as always, if you know of a child, or if you are a child who is currently being sexually abused or who has been sexually abused, I urge you to please call your local law enforcement agency, 911, or 1-800-4-CHILD, which is the National Child Abuse Hotline. And I know that there's some other hotlines that you can call as well. I posted some of them in the description box below. And if you're an adult, I forget, it's been a while. If you are an adult who has been sexually abused as a child, or is going through abuse now, or just needs someone to talk to about things that is on your heart that's troubling you, I urge you to please Find someone that you can talk to. Find a friend. Talk to the Lord. Pray about it. That's the number one thing that I say helped me. Having a personal relationship with Jesus, having the Holy Spirit to talk to lead and guide me, and to trust in God. Trust in God with everything in me. And like I said, sometimes when the Lord puts stuff on my heart to do, I'm still like kicking and screaming doing it, but you know, it's better to do it God's way. It's better to go ahead and do it God's way, and I know that. And so I kind of challenge you to trust God and just give him a chance. Give him a chance to come into your life. And if anything, I'm telling you, it will make you feel calmer. It will make you feel more secure in who you are, trusting God and knowing that He has a plan for your life and you're not just out here winging it on your own. So, with that, I thank you for taking some time with me again. I said it, what, 3 times now? And as always, um, like I always end everything, it's been a while, you guys. So, just be blessed.